Let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Rackner. After treating tens of thousands of patients as a general surgeon over her medical career and holding a clinical faculty appointment at the University of Washington School of Medicine, she left the operating room to help doctors and other medical stakeholders partner more effectively. And so on this webinar today, she's going to give you her viewpoint from a doctor's viewpoint as to why doctors need to be outsourcing their billing and why it might be a good business for you to get into. Excuse me. You can find out more about Dr. Rackner out on the internet, the interwebs, and you'll see that she's written a lot of books out there. And she's also been quoted and has articles in and has been interviewed on some of the sites that you see here in these publications. So with that, I'm going to see if Dr. Rackner is still with us and can turn on her webcam there.
Hello, Patrick. Thank you for that gracious introduction.
Dr. Rackner, let me start with this. I had seen this quote somewhere in one of your books, or maybe on your website, that this is the right place and the right time to mine the treasures in the medical market. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Well, I think every business person is looking for a growth. This is the moment in time to take a look at the medical industry. It's a growth industry. Doctors are at a time where they need new resources to deal with all of the changes of the Affordable Care Act. So I think that this is absolutely the perfect time to be seeking doctors as clients and to be serving them in the way in which you serve them, because this is a distinct need that physicians have right now.
Yeah, the weird thing is that I actually still have people asking me this question from time to time when I tell them what we do. They'll say, well, Patrick, can you tell me why in the world would a doctor even want to outsource their billing? Why, can't they do it themselves? I mean, obviously they have computers, they have people. Can you kind of address that from your own experience, Dr. Rackner?
I can. Well, when I came out of my training, I joined a small group, and the office manager went on vacation. She had done all of the billing. And the others, my partner's wife said, this can't be that hard. Why don't I just come in and do the billing, keep things going? And it was an unmitigated disaster. This is a complex thing. Yes, doctors are smart people. They can learn how to do this, just like I could learn how to do my taxes. But I go to the expert because I know that when I go to the expert, I get better results. And in fact, when I went and set up my own private practice, I knew that from the very beginning I was going to outsource my billing. It's so critical to know that you can reliably get cash into the business. And I'm always a huge believer in going with the experts.
Yeah, and that's really what it boils down to. Not that they couldn't be an expert if they wanted to, but they've got a lot of stuff they're doing in their office besides the billing, right? So they can't really focus on that. And besides, they're just doing the billing for one doctor, that doctor, not many doctors, as a medical biller would be. So I have a quote here that is from an interesting book that's out there called Prepare to be a Millionaire. And this is 47 millionaires in 7 different industries that tell, why they think their industry is a good industry to be in. And this guy is a medical reimbursement specialist. You can see his name right here, Dan Newman. In the book, he writes, for the next 10 years, the medical industry is going to be the most wide open field. Every doctor, dentist, hospital, and clinic has trouble collecting money from patients and insurance companies. I believe that over the next decade, so much money will be made in this particular industry that it will blow you away.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think physicians are getting to the point where even if they wanted to do their billing in-house, they're seeing the consequences of not going with the expert. And they're at a point in time right now where they really have to look at their reinvented practice and ask themselves, is this particular thing I'm doing working for me or not? And when you look at the big picture, especially with the new changes in medical billing, more and more physicians are coming to the conclusion that this old way of doing business just isn't working anymore. It just makes more sense to go to the expert and have the expert do this.
Yeah, I've got a couple of quotes here from articles from magazines just to kind of again, validate what we're saying here, and that is that this revenue cycle management market, it says, is going to reach $40 billion by the year 2021. So, Vicki, you mentioned earlier to me about the fact that there were some big industries that had gone out of business, and those wouldn't be a good one to be in, right?
Well, yes, and there are great brands that have gone out of business, like Blockbuster Video, Schwinn Bike. And, if you're looking for a business opportunity, you definitely want to get involved with an industry that's growing. And, I think if you're here on the webinar, you have chosen perfectly. I mean, there is huge potential for profitability here. There is a huge potential to make a difference. Because remember, if a physician's cash flow is a problem, they engage in distracted doctoring. They're worried about their money rather than their patients. So if you can take that worry off of their plate, that means that they're going to be able to focus more effectively on patient care, and everyone wins.
Yeah, here's another article on revenue cycle outsourcing to surge in the next 5 years. So I think what's happening, now correct me if I'm wrong here, Dr. Vicki, but I see a lot of doctors thinking, of course, that they've got so much going on in their office, they're deciding at some point, you know what, this is not my specialty. My specialty is seeing patients and helping patients, not messing with the billing for insurance companies.
Absolutely. So, I'm a surgeon, so I saw lots of women with breast cancer. And we worked hard to take good care of patients. And, making sure that a patient's medical needs were taken care of was the top priority. And things like following up on rejected claims sort of went to the lower part of the list. And we're all busy people. How many times have you actually gotten through your whole to-do list during the day? And so, following up on these claims just kind of tended to go to the bottom of the list and kind of get ignored. And the bottom line, the cash flow, really reflected that. So some physicians, doctors do not have the most elevated level of sophistication about the way that money works and about how finance works. So a lot of doctors, God bless them, are thinking, well, if I just see more patients, I'll solve the problem. No, that's not the solution. The solution is to get paid what you are owed. And, left to their own devices, that just unfortunately does not happen in most offices.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just get paid what you're owed. In other words, you performed the service for the patient. You deserve to be paid for that. But a lot of them just look at it like, okay, I'm going to get paid on some and some I won't, and so I'll just consider it, I guess, charity or a write-off at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
And they shouldn't do that because that's money that they've already earned. Here's another one, completing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is the reason that this is so important is that with the Affordable Care Act, with ICD-10, there's all sorts of shifts happening. And part of the shifts are shifting referrals from primary care physicians to specialists, the way that patients get to primary care doctors. So physicians are having to take a good, hard look about how they acquire patients, about how they retain patients, and how they make sure that they generate the revenue that they deserve from each of those patients.
Yeah, so I put this question up here on the screen just so we can kind of focus in on this about why would doctors want to outsource their billing, because they obviously could keep it in-house. And I've got a couple of quotes here that I'll just let you comment on, Dr. Vicki. This is from the HBMA, Healthcare Billing and Management Association. At no time in medical history has there been a greater need for expertise, technology, compliance, assistance, etc. There is simply no entity in existence positioned to meet these needs better than the third-party medical billing companies. By leveraging their essential functionality, the third-party medical billing industry can not only be an essential cog, but also can ensure that healthcare providers have the time and the resources to concentrate on their real priority, providing healthcare to our aging population. Well, that's a good point. That brings up for me the whole, the whole See, I'm so old I can't even remember the term. The aging population. Baby boomers, that's it, the baby boomers.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's running a medical practice is complex. There are a lot of moving parts. And it's kind of funny. I've got buddies who try to, get a new computer system in to do their own billing. And one of my buddies was actually told she could only see one patient on Wednesday because they were upgrading the software and getting everything installed. And I know a lot of my own colleagues have tried to do it in-house. They've tried to bring a system in. The system hasn't worked very well, so now they're going to be replacing that system with another. And every time that you do that, that means that your ability to see patients is limited. It's very disruptive to try to bring something new in, getting staff trained, and maybe have the staff turn over. So there are a number of reasons that physicians are coming to understand why outsourcing is a better idea. And Patrick, I think that you were telling me that you're seeing a real surge in the number of new physician clients that your licensees are bringing on board.
Yeah, here this year, for some reason, it has just snowballed. We literally get in new signups from our licensees for new doctor clients on a daily basis. And I think that probably has a lot to do with what's going on with the government, with the ICD-10 codes, and all the changes in the medical field that doctors are realizing, hey, there's no way I can keep up with all the medical things that I need to keep up with, and the patient care, and all this stuff to do with compliance and billing and that type of thing. I think that must be what it is. That's all I can guess. Here's an interesting article from, let's see, Physicians Practice. Economic pressures bolster the case for outsourcing the billing. You can see the underlying quote there. Paying a third party to manage the revenue cycle is one cost that can actually improve your bottom line, experts say. And then on the right there in the gray, the greater the economic pressure on a practice, the more viable outsourcing becomes. I think doctors have way too many pressures financially right now to have to focus on getting paid what they earn. They should turn that over to, someone like our licensees who know how to handle that. In fact, this quote from blackbookrankings.com says 42% of all physician practices, they mean that have 1 to 5 doctors, in other words, smaller practices, with employed billing staff, hope to outsource their billing in the next 12 months. That's a window of opportunity for folks that are interested in getting into this business. So I think that's going to be a trend that we see more and more as we go along.
Absolutely. So you know that I work with financial services professionals, and I'm hearing that more and more doctors are going to their banks to take out lines of credit so they'll be able to know that they can meet their payroll. And I just found that astonishing. Why not look at why the cash flow isn't working as you would hope or expect and solve the underlying problem? I guess that's kind of like giving somebody cough syrup for pneumonia. It makes more sense to go to the source of the problem and deal with that. And I think that the source of the problem is right there on the screen, Patrick. It's this high rejection rate on insurance claims. So imagine the last time that you were getting a paycheck, and your paycheck was only 65% of what you expected. And in any given month, you never knew, are you going to get 60, 65, 70%? That leads to a lot of uncertainty in your spending. And these kinds of concerns really do grate on physicians. I mean, they want to be taking care of patients. And there are some physicians literally who are wondering, am I going to be able to continue to remain in private practice? And if they could just collect the money that they deserve, the answer would be, of course, they could do very, very well. So they need experts like professional outsourced billers to help them achieve their personal and professional and financial goals.
Yeah, this is a huge problem. Our licensees walk in sometimes to doctors' offices that have no idea what the rejection rate is, and then when we teach them how to do a practice analysis, we find out that sometimes, Vicki, we've seen up to 60% rejection rate in some doctors' offices. They're just doing so much, and I guess seeing so many patients, and they do have cash flow, right? I mean, checks do come in. They're just not getting what they should be getting, and that's the sad part, is they're just not earning everything that they worked to earn, and like you said, that they deserve to have.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we have people all the time asking us, well, wouldn't it be cheaper for a doctor to do it in-house? And so this is a chart that we came up with that's just based on a typical doctor. Now, this is just like a general practitioner. This is not a specialist. Like a surgeon, for example, but they would earn a lot more money and, of course, charge a lot more. But look at this, 400 claims per month times 12 months at an average of about $100 a claim is at 6%. Now, we teach people to get anywhere from 5 to 8%, depending on the doctor. So I've used a low number there, 6%. That would be just $28,800 that the doctor would pay to you if you were doing the billing as a medical biller. But look what they would pay doing it in a house. It starts with the salaries for employees, of course, and then you add in all these other things. Vicki, I'm sure that you could have verified that these are all valid things that you have to cover, right? They're hidden costs, I call
them. Absolutely. But I've got to tell you a story. So again, office staff goes on vacation, and we had hired a temp. And this temp was so great. She was so nice, especially with our elderly patients. She would even go out in the waiting room and help them fill out their paperwork. Later, we came to know that she was a convicted felon of Medicare fraud. You know, this person from the temp agency should have been screened. So as a physician, we tend to be pretty trusting, and you just never really know what kind of job is your staff really doing for you. And you'd like to believe that staff is really doing a good job, but I'll tell you, I have a friend who had her entire retirement embezzled by her trusted office manager, and it was gone before she had a clue. So not only are there these economic costs, but there's emotional cost. And you just want to go with somebody you know you can trust. You want to have checks and balances. You know, if you look at embezzlement and fraud, medical offices are at the top of the list of the industries that are most affected by this. So another benefit of outsourcing is not only do you avoid those costs, but you potentially avoid the losses from embezzlement.
Yeah, that's a much bigger problem than most people realize. Not just in the medical field, but I mean, a lot of businesses have embezzlement going on by employees, because if the owner is not the one that actually controls the money, if somebody else in the office is controlling that, then they can siphon that away pretty easily.
Absolutely. And physicians like myself, unfortunately, tend to be pretty trusting. So we bring in somebody we think can do the job. We just hand over the checkbook, and you know that sets the whole environment for embezzlement to happen. So having checks and balances, and I would consider outsourcing billing a very profitable check and balance. Not only do you increase revenue, but you decrease the amount of losses that you would experience through theft.
Yeah, and then there's another problem that a lot of people are not aware of, and that is that doctors bill their patients for whatever the insurance doesn't cover, or if they're self-pay, right? And they typically only collect, according to this McKinsey & Company quote here, only about 50% of those patient balances. That's a $60 billion a year bad debt amongst doctors. To me, that's just unacceptable in any business for you to bill out $100 and only collect $50. That's incredible. But doctors tend to do that, and just why do they consider this something that they can let happen on a regular basis?
Well, Patrick, think of it from the perspective of a physician. Let's say I had a breast cancer patient. I did an operation for her. I know she's going through chemotherapy or radiation therapy. How aggressive do I want to be in collecting that? So you've got this doctor-patient relationship that's the very foundation of the healthcare system. And when you bring money into it, it just doesn't work very well. And that's why this number is as it is. I think that more and more physicians are understanding that they've got to figure out a different way of dealing with this. And so they're sort of struggling with it. But I think another way of making this more acceptable is to have a third party get involved with it. So the doctor doesn't, they can sort of wipe their hands clean of dealing with this money stuff and just focus on patient care.
Yeah, and I want to point out to people who are on the webinar today that are thinking about getting involved in this business, you don't become a collection agency. You don't get on the phone and call the patients to collect this money. We have an automated system that the doctor can utilize through you, of course, as an ABS licensee, that offers the ability to collect that money from patients. And it's very effective. It's not a collection agency, but it's an automated system that collects up to 98% of that money. So that can make a drastic difference in some doctors' revenue. I think they tend to just write this stuff off at the end of the year, don't they? Feel like it's a write-off and they get a tax deduction for it.
That's how I always justified it, and I'll tell you, I'm one of those people. I wouldn't be surprised if my ratio was 60, 80%, because I really had a hard time with it. There was a wonderful book written by a Harvard surgeon, Atul Gawande, called Checklists. And what he points out is that the aviation industry is fueled by checklists, and he's recommending that healthcare professionals do the same. So more and more hospitals and clinics are using checklists. So you've got a system to deal with problems. And with outsourced billing, now you've got a system to deal with this very difficult problem as well as others. It just makes good sense.
Yeah. I've got a picture here of our cloud-based system. A lot of people have not seen it if they're brand new to these webinars, but folks, it is a cloud-based system. This is exactly what it looks like on your computer screen. You can run it on Windows computers, Macintosh computers. It doesn't matter the platform. You can even use any browser that's out there to log into the system and start doing the billing. But the reason I'm showing this is because this is the system that has all the patient information in there that allows our system called Quick Collect to tie in with this system and allows you to do that automated collection from the patients. Here's another quote interesting. The average physician could increase their monthly billing by about 30% if their medical coding was done accurately. Vicki, that shocked me when I first saw that. Are doctors really just that ignorant, or maybe their staff is, about the coding that they should be using?
Look, this is complicated. It's sort of like knowing the tax code. The experts who do it day in and day out really know what to choose. But if you're trying to take care of patients, this is an ancillary concern. And, I know myself, I probably walked away from as much money as I've made by not knowing simple things like this. I want an expert to help me with that. And yes, choosing the right code really can make a huge, huge difference. And I remember the first time I heard about like an expanded office visit, I thought about all of the times that I had not charged that code. That was probably, I don't know, $60,000 that I just walked away from, just from that one procedure code. So this can be huge.
Yeah, that's one of the things people love about our cloud-based system is because the electronic medical record system that's built in, called EMRX, actually has the codes built in there. As you can see, it even has the older codes, the ICD-9, for what the doctor has been using. If they don't know what the ICD-10 code is, they can look up that ICD-9 code and then click this button here for the ICD-10 codes, and it shows them the codes that now replace the ICD-9. Because as you know, Vicki, it went from 16,000 codes for ICD-9 to 70-some-odd thousand for ICD-10.
So it's an order of magnitude more complex. And, I think that this is really why you're seeing the surge. Physicians are really understanding that with this level of complexity, it's just kind of overwhelming. Like, you wouldn't go to the doctor for a paper cut, but if your finger were amputated, you would certainly go into the emergency room. And I think this shift, is telling physicians this is more complex. You probably need somebody to give you a hand with this if you want to get the job done right. Now, Patrick, weren't you the one who told me about this doctor and his Porsche drawer?
Oh, yeah, the Porsche drawer? Well, that was a doctor that when my wife started doing billing, I was actually out doing some marketing. I called on a doctor's office that they actually pointed to a drawer and said, yeah, we call this our Porsche drawer. They were talking about the rejected claims. At the time, they were doing the billing on paper. So those rejected claims would come back in, and they would stuff them in that drawer, thinking that someday they would get back to them and resubmit them, but they never did. And the doctor said, yeah, if I could get all the money out of that drawer, I could afford that Porsche automobile I've always wanted. Here's a screenshot of something that Vicki just sent to me today about an organization. This just happens to be the American Academy of Dermatology, but there's a lot of medical groups out there who do webinars on coding, as you can see from the screenshot here. And as you can see, they're charging their members, $200 to just see these webinars. And Vicki, we've done a dozen webinars on the ICD-10 code in the last year and a half. And we continue to update our licensees. That's just a part of them being, an AVX licensee. We're not charging $200. We don't charge anything for our webinars. So they could spend a lot of money just keeping up to speed on this. That's why it's great to have a system that has the codes already built in there. So, let's see. Here's a question from somebody. Vicki, I think I'll address this from Gerald. He's typed in, as a billing agent, do we get paid on the amount of money we collect or on the total of the claims submitted? And Gerald, I can answer that. Maybe Vicki wants to comment on that. But you basically, our system tells you how much was actually collected for the doctor, and that's what you get paid on. The percentage that you charge the doctor is based on the amount of money actually collected. Yeah. I guess that's typical. Vicki, was that true with your practice?
It is true, and one of the reasons that physicians are struggling so much is that their fees are being cut. If you've gone to the doctor recently or had a medical procedure, you get a note from your insurance company, the EOB, the amount of benefits that were actually paid. I know that recently I had my carpal tunnel surgically decompressed, and my hand surgeon's fee was about 1/10 of what was billed. So, just because of everything that's happening, I think that that's probably fair, that, everybody should be based on not the amount that they bill, but actually the amount that's collected.
Right. Yeah, that's the only fair way to do it, really. And that gives the motivation to the billing company to get as much in for the doctor as possible. And the doctor likes the fact that they're tied to that. See, their own staff, if they're having their staff do the billing, they don't make a percentage of everything that the doctor collects. So there's no motivation on their part. They look at the doctor, he's driving, a Mercedes, and they're driving maybe a Volkswagen Beetle or something, and they're thinking, he doesn't need to make any more money, so they don't have any real motivation to go and collect as much of that money as possible for the doctor.
A great point, Patrick. Having skin in the game is always a good thing.
Yes, it is. I like that. The New England Journal of Medicine, which everybody's heard of, says the market analysts estimate that 24 cents out of every dollar in a doctor's office are wasted on the administrative and billing expenses. People don't realize how much. That's 24% of the money that the doctor has coming in. Whereas you're only charging, as I said earlier, anywhere from 5 to 8% is the norm that's out there. And we help you with that pricing. We've had 22 years experience in the business, so we teach people how to do that. Let's see. Bo is asking, how far back retroactively can you go to recover lost revenue in the billing cycles? Vicki, as I understand it, that's always based on the insurance company and how long they have certain deadlines. So like you have to collect it within a year, or you can't go back and get it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and so here's a question that we get asked a lot, Vicki, and we've talked about this, you and I, that aren't doctors getting out of private practice and going to work for hospitals and large groups? And the answer is yes, that is happening, right? But we've run across things here lately that talk about, here's one from Rev Cycle Intelligence, just posted in January. It says, in a recent Hippocrates survey, 58% of doctors said they prefer independent practice to employment. And indications suggest that outlook for independent providers may be improving. So, Vicki, we've heard stories from our licensees. Doctors have gone to work for a hospital, didn't like the control, and they had control of their income and their hours and everything else that they do, and they didn't like being employees. They wanted to be back in private practice, and so they've quit those jobs and gone back into private practice. That happens more than people realize.
So, what kind of person goes to medical school? In my generation, and I'm a boomer, it was the lone wolf. It was the person who wanted to be in charge. We never wanted to have a boss. We wanted to run our own show and be our own boss. And I think that that's true of the majority of boomers. And when, because of economic concerns, boomers decide to sell their practices to the hospitals and clinic, I think many of them feel like they're selling out. This is a lesser alternative that they're forced into. And if only they would understand that there are ways to solve the problems that are painting them into the corner of selling, many more of them would stay in private practice, in my opinion.
I agree. Let's see, Audrey says, does the training, she's talking about the training we do down here in Dallas, our live training workshop, give the biller an idea of the percentage to charge the doctor? Yes, Audrey, we go through a whole section on how to price correctly. And then afterwards, as you do these practice analysis for the doctor, our support department will actually take a look at that and go over that with you and suggest to you what you should price in your proposal to that doctor. We'll guide you through that step by step every time you want us to do that. Then there's another question, a second part of our question is, are you licensed or certified in one state only? Or can you leave the state or country and still have your business with the same doctor or any other? Yes. Audrey, you basically, when we go through our training, you're certified as a medical revenue manager for all 50 states. So you can do that anywhere in the United States. And we have many, many licensees who've moved and continue to do the billing for the doctor because, again, with today's technology through the cloud, you don't have to be in the same city that a doctor is to get information from them and send information to them and do their billing. Now, Vicki, we're about to come out with our new book, which is not even out there yet. If you tried to search for it, you would find it, but it's called The New Thriving Medical Practice. I love this title that Vicki came up with this. She says, here's the subtitle: How to Get Off the Hamster Wheel, Work Smarter, Not Harder, Generate More Revenue, and Enjoy Greater Career Satisfaction in the Era of the Affordable Care Act. That is a beautiful summation of this book, Vicki.
Well, I am on a mission to keep more doctors in private practice. Now, you've got to understand that doctors don't do a great job thinking about business and business strategy. And if they are going to be successful, they need to think differently. They need to see their medical practice as a small business. Now, we don't just come out and say that, but in the book, we offer them some basic business principles that will allow them to be more profitable. And let me just give you an example. There are an awful lot of doctors who spend a lot of their days probably losing money. Like, I calculated that every time I saw a Medicaid patient and took out an appendix, let's say, I actually lost money. And there were other procedures where I was very, very profitable. Well, what if I had revenue goals and I really understood what was most profitable and then focus my attention there? Well, guess how they figure out what's most profitable? They look at the kind of reports that you can generate from them. So you can be part of this reinvention and helping physicians run the new thriving medical practice.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this book because I really think that we, through our licensees, and by the way, folks, this is a book that you'll be able to use to market to the doctors. You can educate them by giving them a copy of this. We'll be able to sell this to you for about $4 a copy. It's got a retail of $24.95 because there's some very valuable information in this book for doctors. And you'll be able to use it as a marketing tool to go out and educate the doctors. So I'm very excited about it. It's probably going to be out in the next couple of weeks, Vicki. I'm assuming maybe 30 days. Yeah. So we'll see. Hey, by the way, I think what we're doing basically is taking doctors from what you see on the left side of your screen here to what you see on the right-hand side. And that's a good thing, that doctors now have hope that they can stay in private practice, earn the money that they thought they were going to be able to earn when they, went to medical school, and take all the headaches out of their office that have to do with this. Really, the biggest headache that the doctor and the staff have probably has to do with the insurance companies and dealing with the government agencies and that type of thing. But you guys will be making a tremendous amount of money from that, so you won't mind dealing with those entities. And besides, we teach you how to do it through our system that's not near the headache. So, Dr. Vicki, you came up with this. What the mission of these folks are, the people who get involved in our business, is to help physicians thrive in the era of the Affordable Care Act. I love that because doctors are feeling like the Affordable Care Act is kind of holding them back.
It is. They sort of feel like they've lost control. Now think about this for a second. So we have a system of providing medical care in the U.S., but how many doctors were consulted about how we do this? Zero. Right. And they feel like some burdens have been thrust on them, and they just feel like they don't have any choices. But I think that they do have choices, and I think together we can help physicians see that they really can get back to the personal and professional and financial goals that attracted them to a career in medicine, and we all benefit when that happens. So let me just give you an example. I had a position as the health and wellness expert for a chain of drugstores. They were very enlightened, so they hired me to go out and produce health-related videos. And I had this idea, well, what if I go to the doctors who were experts in sleep medicine or diabetes and just interview them and ask them, what's new in the industry? And the benefit to having the doctor interviewed was that they would basically get free advertising. I mean, these videos would be viewed by tens of thousands of people. Well, one of my buddies was in sleep medicine. He was in private practice, but then became an employee. And I said, Joe, hey, I'm working on this project. Can I interview you about sleep medicine? He said, that would be great, but listen, I've got to run it up the flagpole. And his employers actually said no, because they couldn't control the message that Joe was delivering. A PR person would have to be at Joe's side. And I just thought to myself, what a shame. Joe just lost his voice. I mean, he would have liked to have talked to me, to all these potential patients, but because he's an employee, now he can't. So I think that there's some real benefit to keeping physicians in private practice. The thing that they need in order to stay in private practice is to know that they've got reliable, solid revenue. And you can help them do that.
Yeah, it really all does boil down to revenue, doesn't it? I mean, that is the thing. If we had the one thing that we wanted to zero in on for doctors, it is the revenue right now, because they don't know how to manage it. Like I said, they're not real good business people. Most of them haven't had any training in business. So they don't really know about profits and losses and all that. But the bottom line is, like we said from the quote from our book, if you are not focusing on that, you can't stay in practice if you don't have the revenue, because it takes cash flow to run a business, and a medical practice is a business.
So I just wanted to share this book that Patrick was just referencing. It's The One Thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. And, for doctors, that one thing truly is revenue. Probably for you as a business owner, that one thing is, am I going to get help acquiring more doctor clients? And one of the reasons that I have so appreciated my relationship with ABS is that they have a clear commitment to helping their licensees succeed. You don't just become a licensee and you're on some list and forgotten about. I mean, it's just been such a delight and honor to be working with ABS, to be constantly thinking about new ways and resources we can help licensees be more successful. So thank you for inviting me to contribute to that, Patrick. It's really been a pleasure.
Well, and we really haven't made that clear, folks, that Dr. Rackner, when we ran across her, I found her and I called her up and I said, hey, here's what we do. And she said, I would love to be a part of what you're doing to help your licensees to know how to get in and get knee to knee with the doctors, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But Vicki, let me talk about this. You basically can talk, I guess, about why physicians are a good market for any business to go out and go after.
Yeah, there are 4 great reasons. The first, and I don't know if you got this slide, well, they're in acute financial pain. So their pain is your business opportunity, and the pain comes from all of the demands of the Affordable Care Act, which is unrolling now. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but these changes are here to stay. The requirement for the electronic medical record, building an infrastructure. So there's pain. So why physicians? When Willie Sutton was asked, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is. Well, you know what? In the world of business, medicine is where the money is. According to the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, 9 out of the top 10 earners in the U.S. call themselves doctor. So there is a huge profitable opportunity. There's also a lot of them. There are 800,000 practicing physicians in the U.S., and they're making good money. Now remember, this is their revenue, so you are going to be collecting a fraction of this. I bet you wouldn't mind collecting a fraction of $400,000. The next reason that this is such a great market is that physicians tend to be very loyal clients. You know, once you earn a physician's trust, you can expect to have this physician client basically for life. And if you think about the lifetime value of a client, well, Patrick, what are the numbers here for somebody in revenue management?
Well, we just took that average of about 400 claims per month, again, for a general practitioner. That's only, what, 100 claims a week, about 20 a day, at an average of, say, $120 a piece. And that's $48,000 a month that you bill. Remember, we can collect, by the way, this answers one of our questions from a listener here, Bo, says, what's the average collection ratio? Well, folks, we can get that collection rate up to 98% because our rejection rate on the claims is less than 2%. So that's $47,000 that you would collect. If you were billing this doctor, let's say at 7%, you'd be earning about $3,295 a month. In a year's time, folks, that's almost $40,000. So this is why it's important, like she said, to deal with doctors who are loyal. They'll stay with you as long as you're doing a good job, of course.
And I just want to point out that my average claim was measured in thousands of dollars, not hundreds of dollars. You know, if you're working with an orthopedic surgeon or a heart surgeon.
Where you were a surgeon, yeah. I know, my wife just recently had surgery, and it was several $1,000s.
Right. Okay, so reason number 4 is that doctors gossip kind of like teenage girls, and once you do like a really great job for them, they're going to talk about you in the surgeon's lounge in the doctor's dining room. So they're going to say, I just can't believe what just happened. You've got to go see this person and, you know, see if they can do something for you.
Yeah, we see that all the time, Vicki. I mean, it literally happens on a weekly basis that somebody will call our support department and say, hey, I just signed up a doctor that I've never even talked to. It was a referral from, you know, one of my current clients. So the great thing is that we'll solve all the obstacles that people think in their minds that they might have about this business. You know, I can't get past the gatekeeper. Doctors are too busy. You know, they'll never outsource their billing. With a referral, none of that matters. You instantly get right past the gatekeeper. And the doctors are not too busy to talk to somebody if they've been referred by a trusted, person in their industry. And they'll never outsource their billing. Well, folks, we know that that's not true because, as I showed Vicki earlier today before we started the webinar, we're getting those sign-ups all across the country on a daily basis. So we know doctors are outsourcing their billing on a continuing basis. Vicki, I just talked about the medical specialties kind of in connection with referrals because some people think very narrowly, right? They're thinking just of surgeons or family practices. Whereas there's all kinds of medical specialties that are out there. I'm just flipping through a bunch of them here. Some of them I don't even know what they are. But the point is they all can be good prospects for you. There may not be a whole lot of cytopathologists in your area, whatever that is. But if you found one, you could bill for them. So don't limit yourself in your thinking. There's lots of medical specialties out there. I just did a Google search to find all these medical specialties. You can do that yourself and see there's lots and lots of specialties that are out there. Okay, Vicki, go ahead.
Those kind of behave like tropical fish. They tend to group together and move in the same direction together. So let's say that you wanted to work with heart surgeons or pediatric surgeons or urologists. If you do a really good job for that first urologist, they get together, they talk about each other, and you could potentially be the go-to guy or gal for a group of, 200 urologists in your community.
Yeah, and you become, in fact, that happens a lot, Vicki, that somebody will start billing, let's say, for a podiatrist, for example, and they get another referral from that podiatrist to another podiatrist, and so they become the specialists. And I tell people, look, if that's the case, you probably know more. If you're doing billing for a podiatrist for any length of time, you are the expert. You know more than 98% of all the office managers out there for podiatrists about billing for podiatrists. So have some business cards printed up that says, you're a podiatrist billing specialist when you approach a podiatrist with another podiatrist. Vicki, I love this quote that you basically says, we have the secret sauce. We figured out the difference between the world of medicine and the world of business. Can you expound on that a little bit?
You bet. Well, I personally made the transition from a practicing physician to an author and speaker and entrepreneur. And I'll tell you, I thought that this was going to be pretty easy, but I struggled and struggled and struggled. I kept on investing in mentors and coaches and seminars. I actually spent as much in my business training as I did in medical school. And I always felt like an outsider, kind of like an alien in the world of business. And I remember being over in Europe. I went to plug in my laptop, and you can't do it directly because, of course, Europe is wired differently than the US. So in order to make this connection, you need an adapter. And I thought, that's what I need. I, as a physician, am wired differently than business-minded people. And if I want to connect with business-minded people, I need to adapt my practices to them. Well, you are trying to acquire doctor clients. You are wired like a business person. And so in your training, what you are going to learn is how to adapt yourself so that you're most likely to engage them. Can I tell them that Shark Tank story, Patrick?
Oh, yes, I love that one. Go.
All right. So I love this show, Shark Tank. I learn all about business from it. And a couple of months ago, this doctor entered the Shark Tank to get funding for this company that built synthetic cadavers. This is like $1 billion industry. He'd already had $10 million in sales. The sharks were like all engaged. And I thought, man, this guy's going to get a 5-shark deal. But then the questions started. Mr. Wonderful asks, well, doctor, tell us about your revenue. Tell us about your profit. And here's what this guy said on national TV. Well, I could be making lots of money if I wanted to, but money's not that important to me. Money is just a tool. And the guy wound up not getting any deals. And as you build this business, it's sort of like you're entering a different reality show, Surgeon's Lounge. And so learning how to talk with doctors, understanding what really drives their choices, using the right language is going to be very important. And this could be the kind of thing that sets you apart from your competition down the street.
Yeah, and Vicki has used this term about how do I get knee to knee with doctors. That's really the bottom line for a lot of people looking into our business, Vicki. They're scared about getting clients. So, Vicki has actually written a book called How Physicians Can Get More Patients, a great educational / marketing tool for doctors on building their practice in the era of Obamacare. And she has co-authored the book, authored the book, and so we partnered with her, and she will let you put your name, see down at the bottom there where it says Forward by Sue Smith. that can be you, folks. Once you're certified as a certified medical revenue manager, you'll have your name there, and it's a forward that basically we've written basically to tell us about the book, and you get to put your contact information in this as well. So it's a wonderful tool that Vicki has made available to all of our licensees. And Vicki, that's important that they be able to tell a doctor that they've partnered with a doctor, isn't it?
It is. So I've got these 10 laws of physician engagement that you'll have a chance to learn about. But one of the laws is that the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. So, I'm on the advisory board. You get to co-brand something that's been, authored by a physician, which essentially means that you functionally have a physician as a member of your team. And that carries a lot of weight in the eyes of physicians. So how do you get knee to knee with doctors? I think that the best way is the human way. You build relationships by giving people value, by helping them, by giving them something that they want. Now, you have something that they absolutely need, but you're going to get lots of ideas about how to give doctors what they want so you can go on to the next stage of the relationship with them.
Well, Vicki, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insight into this whole business with the folks on the webinar today. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me here, Patrick. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.